All right, so let's start things off today with a bit of a thought experiment. I want you all to imagine that you've been cloned, and we're going to give this clone your personality, feelings, and memories. So, how would your consciousness react? A characteristic of consciousness is that everyone's thoughts and experiences are their own. Would you feel like you are you, or would you feel like you were your clone? And if you didn't feel like you were the original you, then were you really cloned? In order to unpack consciousness a bit further, let's first take a look at what unconsciousness is. So, there are tons of lovely statistics about unconsciousness. 95% of our thoughts are unconscious. The average person spends 25 years fully unconscious thanks to sleep. Basically, everyone in the world really loves to be unconscious. Technological innovations, however, give rise to another problem, that of automation. Not everything has been automated just yet. However, humans have already been affected by this. It serves to streamline life and sort of transform it into a book with a beginning, middle, and end, and not like a cool choose-your-own-adventure type story that it should be. I started thinking about consciousness when I was trying to get away from all the stressful things going on in my life. Applying to uni, one thing every student dreads. I had to think ahead about decisions that would shape my future and the rest of my life. It was fast-paced, and in my head I was already calculating, well, I'm 17 now, so if I do a 4-year program, maybe 1-year co-op, I'll leave school at 22, so my first job would be in 5 years then. But somehow, those 5 years felt like they were 5 days away. I was writing applications like I was expected to show up the next day. So I tried different methods of relieving this stress. One method was to break things down into sort of an itemized list or itinerary, making time for important stuff and also having time to do fun stuff. However, this didn't work. I felt like a robot, mechanically following orders that the schedule demanded. Everything felt so meaningless and disconnected. I was so focused on what was next on the list, I wasn't living in the moment and enjoying what I was doing. So I thought to myself, was I wasting my time? Tell me, if life only serves to be a list of meaningless things one after the other, was it really worth living? So I tried a different method. Meditation and yoga. Whilst practicing meditation, I would often ask myself various questions, like, what was the meaning of life? What did I want to do with my life? You know, the type of questions you ask yourself at 3 a.m. in the morning when you can't sleep. And thankfully, I'm not alone in this thought. Philosophers, theologians, and scientists alike have all been pondering the origin and cause that consciousness serves. Most agree, however, that it could be explained by a world described by science. So that's where my research began, in order to answer the question, what is the origin and purpose of consciousness? Sifting through a variety of research papers, I came across some interesting ideas. In 2020, researchers Badra and Dacia wrote a paper on the origin of consciousness explained through religion and contemporary physics. They wrote that from a physics perspective, since light was used as a symbol of divinity in major religions around the world, that this light could be linked to consciousness, as light is an electromagnetic wave that could be linked to a certain symmetry group. Now, I won't lie to you, I don't have a PhD in contemporary physics, but that's not important, because what's interesting about this isn't the physics. What is interesting is it ties our thoughts into the consciousness, into the fabric of the universe. It reminds me of a quote by Carl Sagan, a famous astronomer who once said, "The nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies, were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff." Now this right here connects our origin into the universe and our thoughts into the interwoven fabric of space. So with this, I was satisfied with my science research and now thought to look at different avenues that religion and philosophy represented. A rather famous Muslim mystic philosopher, Ibn Arabi, is known for founding the principle of wadat al-wujud, meaning oneness of being or the unity of existence. However, this concept is famous for its misinterpretations. Critics believed that it allowed for no distinction between the existence of God and the world, that one could not exist without the other. But understood correctly, his followers explain that the attributes are neither God nor other than God. This seems like a contradiction at first. God must be understood as absent and present? I took this to mean that there must be a balance. Live with awareness of God, but understand that you live in a physical universe. Ibn Arabi allowed this balance to guide his action. Arabi asks us to consider the profound significance of the normal moments in life, and not to romanticize ideas of spirituality. According to Arabi, the heart has two eyes, reason and imagination. He explains that the dominance of either distorts the heart. Arabi mentions that the rational path of the philosophers and theologians needs to be complemented by the mysticism of the Sufis. To him, the heart, which in itself is unitary consciousness, must become attuned to its own fluctuations. What he is expressing here is the balance of all things, warning us not to become stubborn and fully focused on the physical universe, but to allow for imagination and mysticism to take place, as through this, you might become attuned to your own heartbeat. When you understand yourself down to your heartbeat, you're free. No more anxiety, no more stress, no more self-doubt, no more worrying about what others think or anything else that holds you back. This led me to the end of my religious-based research, and now all we have left is philosophy. So, the last approach to consciousness I wanted to explore was philosophy. Philosophy has a rather nice and unique word to explain consciousness: qualia. Qualia is experience, the way things smell, the way things feel, or the way things sound. Qualia is the way we perceive the world around us. It shapes the way we interact with one another. However, one of the most bizarre things about it is that humans possess almost no control over it. Our experiences are discriminatory. We don't choose to love chocolate or despise horseradish. In the same way, our brain may interpret a joke that someone makes as a grueling insult. Whatever the case is, you have no control. You don't really choose what you like. This was one of my favorite ideas to explore, as it ties into the idea of the unconscious human and decisions that we make either consciously or unconsciously. Think of a prehistoric time period. It would be a common instinct for a caveman to go out and search to gather food and water. This isn't necessarily a conscious act, as they don't sporadically decide to go out one day and find food or water. This is done instinctually. Now, fast forward a million years, and we see a similar trend today. Life, at least for me, became rather predetermined and mundane. Remember that checklist? I'm 18, time to go to uni. I'm 24, time to get a job. I'm 30, time to get married. I'm 38, time to have kids. I'm 80, guess I'll die. Life, at least for me, over these millions of years, the structure is the same. The result is becoming an unconscious human and feeding into any craving, whim, or desire that we are told that we want, removing any heart, and living life like it's a speed run. Today's society is consumer-based and unreflected. There are so many new ideas, no one can seem to keep on top of them. The working sector, the housing market, and schooling have all gotten more competitive. Yet these aren't fields that typically require competition. This new way we're wired to think makes us feel like we always have to reach higher, look ahead, think that there's something more out there, never looking back or being satisfied about where we are or how far we've come. The world is full of automation, streamlining, and unconscious people. And the one-dimensional life that people live is the same as a caveman, the same as an animal. And it's a life not fitting for a species as great as ours. Consciousness is a hard question of philosophy that has yet to be fully answered. I now believe that there is more to life than waiting for death or being bored. Ultimately, who cares where consciousness came from? Be it a fluke in the universe, a gift from the heavens, or a curse. What matters is there is so much more. You have the ability to comprehend so much more. Your life is so much more. Thank you.